Hi, my name is Dan. I am a veteran. Was born and raised in the Midwest. I came in post 9/11, like a lot of veterans these days. I signed up to be a medic because I'd been a paramedic on the outside, and I knew that post 9/11 that the military was going to need medics. I found myself volunteering for multiple assignments and worked my way up through the special operations ranks. Over the course of 20 years, I've had numerous deployments to combat zones. Have found myself very fortunate to have come out with as few visible scars as possible. Like most veterans these days, we all carry our own mental baggage, and it's a hard thing to deal with. We have to be able to find outlets for our emotions. I personally use baking. I also write poetry, and I found fishing. And fishing is a very cathartic way for me to find my inner peace, my happiness, and sort of come to grips with a lot of the things that I've done in an outdoor setting. I appreciate just spending a moment of that fish's life with it. They're very intelligent. They are able to adapt and learn to the different techniques that are used to catch them. And I find it to be a peaceful way, or as peaceful of a way as possible, to interact with a beautiful wild animal. It does my heart, does my soul good to be able to get out there. I'm able to pass those skills and life sets on to my children, which a lot of veterans are family oriented, and for good reason. We have to have that next generation, and hopefully we can do better with our children than ourselves. I do remember the first poem that I wrote. It was just after a particularly bad deployment, and I woke up in the middle of the night and I had emotions and words that needed to get out of me. And I sat there and I wrote down exactly what I was feeling. Took a number of revisions to get those out, and I found that the more that I wrote poetry, sort of the easier it came. It took me a very long time before I felt comfortable sharing any of those poems with anybody else, because it was very personal. It was very dark, and that's the kind of stuff that I had been bottling up for a very long time. It was baggage that I no longer wish to carry. We have a lot of different thoughts going on in our heads, whether it's experiences or thoughts or guilt, things along those lines. And by getting them out and onto paper, it's a way to take a few things off of your plate, to lighten your load, so to speak. I found myself in an environment where I felt safe. I was surrounded by other veterans that were there at the Warriors in Quiet Waters Lodge, and I felt comfortable. I felt supported the way that veterans know that support and that camaraderie. And I shared them, and a lot of them appreciated my sharing it. And I thought to myself that maybe I would be able to share it with more people. So the thing that surprised me the most about combat is the emotional toll. People kind of have an idea about it. We watch TV or movies and we read books about it. But until you're actually there and you are experiencing it, the absolute abject horror and the lowest or most violent that humans can become. And yet at the same time, there were moments and instances that were gentle and beautiful and caring and sacrifice that you just don't fully understand until you have those raw emotions and feelings and sights and visuals. Having all those things happen, and they happen in a very compressed amount of time, almost to the point where you're not able to truly process them until after it marks you for the rest of your life. All veterans have a bag that they carry with them, and all the different experiences that they have go into that bag, and it's with us for the rest of our lives. And again, I'm not able to deal with them all by myself. I have friends. I reach out to people. A lot of times after a particularly bad event, either someone had passed away or I had a lot of guys that were wounded, I would find myself keeping busy to keep my mind off of it. And then I would end up in the shower late at night and I would be on the floor just crying out of shame, out of humility, out of all the things that we're not taught on how to do as soldiers and men and people in general. Once I was able to open up my vulnerability and come to grips with that, I realized that that vulnerability that I had thought of as a weakness for so many years was actually a strength. In writing, my hope is always that the words that I write and that I now put on an Instagram account reach their intended target. And by exposing my vulnerabilities to them and my emotions, if they can tie into that and it gives them a lifeline, then what I have done, what I've exposed of myself is all worth it. I was introduced on Instagram to a young lady who is an artist. Her name is Invader Girl. She read one of my poems and she was able to extrapolate with a picture that she was able to draw. And then I also work with a member of the Warriors in Quiet Waters who is a hobbyist calligrapher, and so we can get two veterans working simultaneously, both through my words, through his calligraphy, and then we work with the artist and she brings it together in a visual representation. We don't do it for money. We do it as a way to heal. Veterans know very well that there could be a smell or a sight or a sound that brings you back to a specific moment when you were deployed. And when I feel that, that is when I write. I've always said that you can take the soldier out of the person, but you can't take the person out of the soldier. Everyone needs that Maslow's hierarchy of needs to be fulfilled and to find peace and happiness in their lives. Most of our demons do not need alcohol. What our demons need is exercise and a positive outlet as opposed to a negative outlet. I try to fish every day. When I get on my paddleboard, I'll go out for usually between 2 to 3 hours. I find that when I lose myself in the action of fishing, it's not whether or not I catch a fish. The fish is ancillary to the true purpose, which is to get outside, to be quiet, to find that inner peace that I think is only found in nature.